The Himalayas, a majestic natural barrier, have long defined the relationship between Asia's two giants, India and China. These towering peaks covered in snow and shrouded in mist are more than just a physical divide. They are a symbol of the complex and often contentious relationship between these two nations. This imposing mountain range is not just a geographical divide, it is a geopolitical fault line. The Himalayas have witnessed centuries of history, from ancient trade routes to modern-day border skirmishes, shaping the destinies of both countries. The unresolved border disputes, rooted in history and geography, cast a long shadow over bilateral relations. These disputes date back to colonial times, with both sides laying claim to vast swaths of territory, leading to a legacy of mistrust and tension. Competition for resources, particularly water, further complicates the equation. The Himalayas are the source of major rivers that sustain millions of lives in both countries, making control over these waters a critical issue. As both nations modernize their militaries and expand infrastructure, the potential for conflict in this geographically sensitive region cannot be ignored. Roads, railways, and military installations are being built at a rapid pace, each side wary of the other's intentions. The disputed borders, spanning thousands of kilometers, are a constant source of tension. The line of actual control, or LAC, is a fluid and often contested boundary, with both sides frequently accusing each other of incursions. From Ladakh in the west to Arunachal Pradesh in the east, the line of actual control, or LAC, remains poorly demarcated. This lack of clear demarcation has led to numerous misunderstandings and confrontations over the years. This ambiguity has led to numerous standoffs, with both sides accusing the other of incursions and transgressions. These standoffs often escalate into tense military confrontations, with soldiers from both sides standing face to face in the harsh Himalayan terrain. The unresolved border issue, a legacy of history, continues to fuel mistrust and suspicion between the two nuclear-armed neighbors. Despite numerous rounds of diplomatic talks and agreements, a lasting resolution remains elusive, keeping the region on edge. The Tibetan Plateau, often called the roof of the world, adds another layer of complexity to the India-China dynamic. This vast, elevated region, with its unique geographical and strategic significance, has been a focal point of geopolitical interest for decades. This high-altitude region, under Chinese control since 1950, is the source of major rivers that flow into both countries. These rivers, including the Yangtze, Yellow, and Mekong, are lifelines for millions of people, providing essential water resources for agriculture, industry, and daily life. Control over Tibet gives China significant leverage over downstream water resources, a fact not lost on India. The strategic advantage of controlling the headwaters of these rivers cannot be overstated, as it allows China to influence water availability and quality in downstream regions. India, heavily reliant on these rivers for irrigation and drinking water, views Chinese activities in Tibet with apprehension. The agricultural sector, which forms the backbone of India's economy, depends heavily on the consistent flow of these rivers. Dams, diversions, and other water management projects undertaken by China raise concerns in New Delhi about potential water shortages and ecological damage. These projects could alter the natural flow of rivers, affecting water availability in India and potentially leading to severe droughts or floods. The Brahmaputra River, known as the Yarlung Tsangpo in Tibet, is a particular point of contention. This river is crucial for the northeastern states of India, providing water for agriculture, hydropower, and daily consumption. Any attempt by China to dam or divert the river's flow would have serious consequences for India's northeast, fueling tensions and potentially leading to conflict. The ecological and socio-economic impacts of such actions could be devastating, disrupting the lives of millions and straining the already fragile relations between the two nations. Water, essential for life and livelihoods, has emerged as a major flashpoint in the India-China relationship. As both countries grapple with growing populations and increasing water demands, the competition for transboundary water resources is intensifying. The lack of a comprehensive water-sharing treaty exacerbates the situation, leaving ample room for misunderstandings and mistrust. Climate change further complicates the water equation. The Himalayan glaciers, a vital source of fresh water for both countries, are receding at an alarming rate due to global warming. This will have a cascading effect on river flows, leading to increased water scarcity and potentially triggering conflicts between upstream and downstream nations. Cooperation, not competition, is the need of the hour. Beyond the Himalayas and the Tibetan Plateau, specific geographical features have acquired strategic significance in the India-China context. The Siliguri Corridor, a narrow strip of land connecting India's northeast to the rest of the country, is a case in point. This chicken's neck, as it is often called, is a vulnerable point in India's geography, susceptible to Chinese pressure. China's growing military presence in the Tibetan Autonomous Region, which borders the Siliguri Corridor, has heightened Indian anxieties. The expansion of road and rail networks in the Thar, coupled with the buildup of troops and military infrastructure, is seen by India as a potential threat. Any attempt by China to exploit the Siliguri Corridor's vulnerability in a conflict scenario would have serious consequences for India's territorial integrity. Section 6. Echoes of History, from skirmishes to standoffs. The India-China border has witnessed several military confrontations, a testament to the enduring legacy of geography and history. The 1962 war, a humiliating defeat for India, remains etched in the national psyche. While a full-scale war is unlikely in the current geopolitical climate, border skirmishes and standoffs have become increasingly frequent. The 2020 standoff in Ladakh, the most serious in decades, involved thousands of troops from both sides and resulted in casualties. The clash, triggered by differing perceptions of the line of actual control, highlighted the fragility of peace in the region. The fact that the standoff occurred despite high-level diplomatic and military engagements underscores the challenges of managing a complex and contested border. Section 7. Can diplomacy bridge the gap? Given the high stakes involved, diplomacy remains the only viable option for resolving the India-China border dispute and managing bilateral relations. Dialogue, confidence-building measures, and a commitment to peaceful coexistence are essential to prevent the geographical realities from spiraling into conflict. However, diplomacy alone cannot bridge the trust deficit. Both sides need to address the root causes of tension, including the border dispute, water sharing arrangements, and the security dilemma. A negotiated settlement on the border issue, while challenging, is crucial for lasting peace. Similarly, a cooperative framework for managing transboundary water resources is essential to avert future conflicts. Section 8. The stakes, too high for conflict. The potential for conflict between India and China, while real, must be viewed in the broader context of their intertwined economies and global aspirations. Both nations have a vested interest in maintaining peace and stability, which are essential for their continued economic growth. A war, even a limited one, would be disastrous for both sides, with regional and global ramifications. Moreover, conflict would undermine the efforts of both India and China to emerge as leading powers in the 21st century. Their rivalry, fueled by history and geography, need not be a zero-sum game. Cooperation, not confrontation, is the key to unlocking their shared potential and securing a prosperous future for their people. Section 9. Charting a course for the future. The India-China relationship, shaped by geography and history, is at a crossroads. The challenges are real and complex, but so are the opportunities. By addressing the root causes of tension, fostering dialogue, and building trust, both nations can chart a course towards peaceful coexistence and shared prosperity. The future of Asia, and indeed the world, hinges on the choices India and China make. The world is watching, hoping that wisdom and diplomacy will prevail over the forces of geography and history. The stakes are too high, the consequences too dire, to allow conflict to define the relationship between these two Asian giants.